and help you to increase your marks by about 15 to 20 if you apply these elimination techniques properly. Okay, so the old methods or the old techniques are redundant. You have to adopt to this new pattern, and that's why I emphasize upon this fact. Because of this new pattern, okay, along with the knowledge, what you need is the smartness. Because smartness in terms of your attempts, smartness in terms of the application of the elimination technique.
I started my full-fledged preparation after I joined the Ultimate Assessment Program at Civilsdaily.
There is a 12-month strategy which I have done on Civilsdaily platform only.
I reached out to the Civilsdaily team.
Civilsdaily.
Current affairs में Civilsdaily.
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 With Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily.
Civilsdaily. Civilsdaily.
To Civilsdaily.
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 A mentorship program of Civilsdaily, and that did help me a lot.
So in this particular webinar, we will be dealing with the same issue. Okay, this particular webinar will be most helpful for the aspirants who had given the prelims previously or who are preparing for 2025 or 2026, because the elimination technique that I will be discussing in today's webinar is or can help you to increase your marks by about 15 to 20 if you apply these elimination techniques properly. Okay, so now let's begin. So first, this thing we have discussed previously as well, that the cutoff in last 8 years, the cutoff has come down by 41 marks. So in every session at the beginning, I remind this to the aspirants just to emphasize upon the aspect that the pattern of the UPSC has changed. And you have to adopt to this new pattern, and you have to devise your preparation strategy which is relevant for this new pattern. Okay, so the old methods or the old techniques are redundant. You have to adopt to this new pattern, and that's why I emphasize upon this fact. Right. Second important fact that you need to remember is with respect to the increasing difficulty level of the paper. Right. So if you see the questions which were easy have come down from 35 to 18, and hard questions have gone up from 23 to 45. This is the increasing difficulty level of the paper. Right. Secondly, with respect to the nature of the paper or the nature of the question paper, the questions which are outside your standard resources, for example, the Lakshmikant, the Spectrum, the NCRTs of the geography, or PMFIS or the Shankarais for the environment, or any standard material that you follow, the questions that are coming from that standard source has come down drastically, whereas the questions which are very random, okay, which are not covered in your any of your current affairs material or any of your standard books has gone up. Right. So to tackle this, what you need is the proper exam hall strategy with proper practice and understanding of the elimination technique. Right. Because you can't deal with these random questions based upon your knowledge. Random questions are not just outside the standard books or outside the standard resources. Okay. Random questions are outside your knowledge base as well. So the only way to deal with these kind of the random questions is the elimination technique. Strategy with respect to the attempts. Okay. Now, the implication of this, so implication of the lowering of the cutoff, the increasing difficulty level, and the increasing number of the random questions. The major implication is that, so this is somewhat a positive thing that you need to keep in mind, that there is a level playing field in UPSC Prelims. Why? Because Prelims has not remained just about your knowledge. Right? If it is just about your knowledge, those aspirants who are preparing for the UPSC for 2 to 3 years, or those who have prepared for the prelims for 6 to 7 months, they will have the advantage. But because of this new pattern, okay, along with the knowledge, what you need is the smartness. Smartness in terms of your attempts, smartness in terms of the application of the elimination technique, and smartness in terms of your mindset. Okay. On this three level, you need the smartness. And as it is not just about the knowledge, there is a level playing field. So even with 3 months of the preparation or 4 months of the preparation, you will have the sufficient amount of the knowledge base with 2 to 3 rounds of the revision, okay, which will give you 60 to 70 marks. But that extra 20 to 30 marks, which are going to help you to clear your prelims, will come from this aspect, which involves your strategy with respect to the total attempts, the elimination technique, and mindset. And this comes with the practice. Right? Because these are not the theoretical things. These are the practical things which requires a lot of practice. So only when you attempt around 5,000 MCQs, then only you can master these three things. That's precisely why we have incorporated the daily MCQs into our dominant prelims, where on daily basis you get 25 questions, and on daily basis you get a session where we discuss those 25 questions, right? And our target is to ensure around 6,000 MCQ practice before the prelims. Okay. And the last thing is with respect to the actual paper itself, that at the exam you have to expect the unexpected. So the last thing is you have to expect the unexpected. That means there are going to be few surprises. There are going to be the new patterns with respect to the questions. You have to be ready for it. That will come only with sufficient amount of the practice, right? And that's why what we have done is we have analyzed the PYQs of last 30 years. So if you see in the last 3 years, they are asking the questions on the assumption and reasoning, right? So after 2011 to from 2011 to 2020, they didn't ask a single question with respect to the assumption and reasoning. But after 2022 or since 2022, they have started asking it. But before 2011, they used to ask the question on sign pattern. By analyzing the last 30 years of the paper, we have noted down some of the previous patterns which UPSC used to use while framing the questions. Those are also incorporated in the practice of these 5,000 MCQs, right? Then, so these are the implications of the new pattern, right? Then, what to do or what exactly is expected from you with respect to the preparation, right? Like I said, the old techniques or the old methods with respect to the preparation of the prelims have become redundant. Before 2020, those who aspirants who used to clear the prelims twice or thrice, they simply used to revise their static twice, the current affairs twice, and practice around 15 to 20 mock tests. But now, considering the increasing randomness and considering the reduction in the relevance of your static and current affairs, the new strategy that you require is first the PYQ based preparation. Why PYQ based preparation? Is because if you see the last 5 years of the question papers, okay, I have already taken a session on it. If you see, what they have done is they have found the new micro themes on which they are asking the repeated questions. So for example, if you want to analyze or if you want to check our analysis, pick the last 5 years of the paper from 2020 to 2024, compare or see the questions of the polity. Each and every year, you will find the question on the bills. So 1 year they asked on the amendment bill, 1 year on the finance bill, 1 year on the money bill, and 1 year with respect to the joint sitting, and 1 year with respect to the ordinary bills. Right. So every last 5 years they have come up with these new micro themes on which they are asking the repeated questions. The analysis of last 5 years of the PYQs, which you will get on the next level platform, where we have given the micro themes for every question, and we have given the explanation or the detailed analysis of that micro theme. So that will help you cover the new themes that UPSC is asking question from. Second, the consolidation of the static. So for the consolidation of the static means, yes, I said the relevance of the static and current affairs or the standard books has come down, right? But it has not gone down drastically, right? Even earlier, there used to be 50 to 55 questions which were used to be from your standard resources, right? But now it has come down to around 30 to 35. So your entire Lakshmikant spectrum, the geography NCRTs, the environment standard book, science and tech standard book, your resource for art and culture, right? Your standard book for the economics. All these are going to give you only 30 to 35 questions. But these 30 to 35 questions are most crucial as firstly they are coming from the resources that you have referred and revised periodically, right, or frequently. So this is going to prepare the base of your marks. That is around 65 to 70 marks of your prelims are going to come from the static, right? And here, to get that mark, you have to maintain the 90% of the accuracy. Right. I will have another session on the consolidation of the static aspect. But the next, to get that extra 30 marks. So here, if you secure 70, you will be needing extra 30. And from this 30 to 35 questions, you will be securing 60 to 65 marks. And the remaining 30 to 35 marks are going to come from these two. Right. So here you will be attempting around 50 questions where you have to maintain the 70% of the accuracy. Right. Obviously, as these are not from your standard resources, the accuracy rate will come down. But with the smart techniques and elimination techniques, you can maintain the accuracy level of the 70%. Okay, I will show you some of the questions where you can highlight the or where you can see the application of the elimination techniques in completely random themes. Right. So this is the basic math of your prelims, and you have to prepare your strategy based on this. So for this, you need the revision of static plus current affairs based on the PYQ micro themes twice. And for this, you need the practice. So practice like daily 25 questions which we provide in the dominant and one sectional test at the weekend. And once you finish your first revision by mid-March, you have to shift to the FLTs, where you have to ensure around 20 to 25 FLTs. Right. Micro themes are there in the next level platform. It's available on our website. Okay, so this is going to be your overall strategy. Now, coming to the topic of today, which is the elimination techniques. So if you see, on an average, okay, around 30 questions you are getting from the standard book, plus around 5 to 10 questions from the current affairs resources that you are going to follow. But around 45 questions or 40 to 45 questions are coming or can be solved with only elimination techniques. Okay. Now, with respect to the elimination technique, the first or the core aspect of the elimination technique is the understanding the methods. So like I said, if you go to the market, you will find hundreds of the elimination techniques. See, the funda is very simple. Once you know the answer, you can apply any logic or any tickdom and get that answer. But the thing is, with single elimination technique, you should get at least 2 to 3 questions out of 5 questions correct. So if you get 5 questions and if you apply or if they are telling you to apply the 5 different elimination techniques, it's not going to work in the prelims. Why? Because there can be the conflict between the elimination techniques. So which one to apply to which question creates confusion. Secondly, non-consistency in the application of the elimination technique will only increase your negative marks. So first thing that you need to remember in your elimination technique is the understanding of the methods, keeping it limited. So in the dominant prelim sessions that I will be taking, I will be giving you just 10 elimination techniques. With each elimination techniques, you can attempt at least 3 to 4 questions. Okay, so if you apply the same elimination techniques for the 4 questions, so with 70% of the accuracy, out of 4, the minimum 2 questions will be correct. Right. So if minimum 2 questions so out of 4 are correct with 50% of the accuracy, 70% of the accuracy will involve 3 out of 4. Right. So if you get 3 out of 4, your marks will be 5.34 plus. And with 2, it will be yes, you will get around 2 point something plus. Right. So keeping your elimination techniques limited to the 10. The list I have added in the next sessions or the next PPTs. Okay. Second thing is the practicing of the application. Right. Until and unless you practice 5,000 MCQs and apply the elimination techniques, you won't be able to apply it in the examination hall. Why? Because there is a lot of exam pressure. Right. Second, there will be the sense of panic. Because of that, you won't be able to apply the elimination techniques properly, and which requires only the practice. Because elimination application of the elimination techniques involves answering the question without knowing the answer with certainty. And that requires a lot of confidence. Because that confidence comes only with the practice. Third is the consistency. That is, suppose if there are 4 questions which can be solved with one elimination techniques, you have to ensure that you are attempting all the 4 questions. Right. So if there are 4 questions which can be applied with one elimination technique, and if you attempt just 2 questions, and if your luck is very bad, you may get those both of them incorrect. But if you apply the same elimination technique for all the 4 questions, right, a simple math or the probability will tell you that minimum 2 questions will be correct. Right. Then the right temperament, that is the right mindset, that is to avoid exam pressure and the panic. Okay. Now, see, coming to the elimination techniques, these are the fundamentals of the elimination technique. Okay. Always remember, the elimination techniques is not going to clear your prelims or not going to give you 90 marks or 100 marks. Okay. Elimination techniques is going to give you only 35 or maximum 40 marks. The 60 marks are going to come from your knowledge. Okay, so suppose in one particular question, okay, you have read about that particular theme, and with respect to the options, if you are getting the option based on your knowledge, which is different from the options that you are getting from application of the elimination technique, always prefer your knowledge. Right? Always remember that elimination techniques has to be applied only in those questions where you have the lack of knowledge or where you have the confusion. In case where you know the facts or where you know the answer based upon your knowledge, always give preference to the knowledge. ऐसे नहीं होना चाहिए कि सर ये मेरे को पता था but because of the elimination technique I marked different answer. Right? If you are getting, this is the first fundamental. The preference should be given to the knowledge. And only in those questions where you are not getting the answer with certainty, you have to apply the elimination method. Second, you need to remember that the accuracy rate is going to be 65 to 70%. That means you are not going to get all the questions correct with elimination technique. अगर ऐसा होता तो कट ऑफ इतना नीचे आता ही नहीं. ये कट ऑफ would have been above 50 always. Right? So for that, the most important thing is the consistency. The consistency as in, if you apply one elimination technique to one type of the questions, for the other questions with the similar pattern or with the similar type, you have to apply the same elimination technique. That is the consistency. Just to give you an example, I had a student who cleared her first prelims in her sixth attempt. Okay. The simple elimination technique that I gave was with respect to the consistency is, so there were 4 questions. Okay. In all the 4 questions, she had the doubt between or with respect to one statement. Okay, so she had the doubt in one statement in 4 questions. As per the consistency, so out of 4 questions, she felt that in 3 of the questions, that given statement in which she is confused is wrong. So in all the 4 questions, she considered that particular statement as wrong and she went with one only. That is the consistency. And second is with respect to the attempt. Like I said previously, if there are 4 questions which can be solved with one elimination technique, you have to ensure that you are attempting all the 4. The cutoff is in the range of 80s or is 23 cutoff is 75. 24 cutoff is going to be in the range of 90 to 95. Because that means cutoff is not even 50%. So in that case, considering the randomness, difficulty level, and the lower cutoff, you have to ensure that you are attempting all the questions or you are taking some risk. The ideal attempt should be in the range of 85 to 95. You should not attempt below 85 and you should not attempt above 95. Always remember this fact. Okay. Now, so the list of these are the fundamentals. Again, I will repeat. First preference is to the knowledge. Second, the elimination techniques provides only 65 to 70% of the accuracy. And to get that accuracy, you have to ensure that there is a constant application of the elimination technique and you are attempting all the questions which are or which can be solved using that particular elimination technique. Okay, it's pretty simple. All that is needed is the sufficient amount of the practice and the confidence. I attempted only 76 and my score is 88. Like I said, your attempt should be in the range of 85 to 95. Okay. Now we'll shift to the elimination techniques. Okay. The first or the most common elimination technique is the possibility statements, majorly dealing with the utility or the application of particular theme. Right. So this theme will every year is going to have 4 to 5 questions on this particular theme where they will be asking the application of some particular theme or the mechanism or anything. Right. Either the utility or the application based questions. Okay. So first, the statements where you get the wordings like can or may, or involving the application of the theme are generally correct. Okay. Second, while dealing with the options, you have to follow the, or you have to go for the all of the or odd man out. Okay, I will discuss the questions, then you will get the better idea. The third thing with respect to this is you have to give the benefit of doubt to the option. Sometimes what happens is, suppose this is the question. This is the question. Steel slag can be the material for which of the following: construction of base road, improvement of agriculture soil, production of cement. Okay, so suppose you have the doubt with respect to the third option, that whether it can be used or not. Okay, but only if you have the knowledge. If you have the knowledge that no steel slag can't be used in making of the cement, then only eliminate that and go for 1 or 2. If you are in the state of confusion, in that case, give the benefit of doubt to this option and go for 1, 2, 3. Because like I said, every year there are going to be 4 to 5 questions on the same thing. And you have to ensure the consistent application of the elimination technique. Yes, in case you have the knowledge, it can't be used for the cement, you give preference to the knowledge over elimination technique, and you go for 1 and 2. Otherwise, you always give the benefit of doubt to the option. Okay. Now, if you see the questions, the possibility statements, right? So, some mushrooms, okay, have medicinal properties, psychoactive properties, insecticidal properties, or bioluminescent properties. Okay, so they can have. You give the benefit of doubt to that. They can have. Don't eliminate. You go with all of the four. Here also, some microorganisms. You go with all of the three. Okay, so these statements where you find the wording can or may, you give the benefit of doubt. Okay. Second, this is the application-based question. In how many of the above actions is the function accelerometer required? You first focus upon the word, that is accelerometer. That is, it accelerates something. Because it is related to the speed or acceleration. Okay, so detection of, then you compare the options. Detection of car crash, okay, which results into deployment of airbags. Detection of the accidental free fall of laptop towards the ground, which result into the immediate turning of the hard drive. If you see, both of these statements are complementary. If you visualize it, both will have the same mechanism. After car collision, immediate deployment of the airbag. Similarly, after the fall of the laptop, immediate turning off of the hard drive. Both will have the similar mechanism. Both can be the application. Right. Then detection of the tilt of the smartphone, which results into rotation of display between portrait and landscape mode. Again, as this is the application-based question, you go with all of the other. Similarly, here. Okay. Until and unless you have the knowledge, or until and unless this is completely odd man out, you don't eliminate the option, you go with the all of the other. Okay. Similarly, here also, how many of the above has poisonous species among them? Right. So we know about the fish and frogs, but butterflies you may get confused. Right. So until and unless you are aware about none of the or you have read somewhere about none of the butterflies has poisonous species, you give benefit of doubt to it and you go with all of it. Okay. Similarly here, the application where the hydrogels are used. Controlled drug delivery, mobile air conditioning, and industrial lubricants. Okay, application based, you simply go with all of them. Okay. Then, which of the above can be used as feedstock for producing sustainable aviation fuel? Now you focus upon the word. don't go blindly because they are using the sustainable word, right? Sustainable means it should be environmental friendly and it should not include fossil fuel. Fossil fuel is unsustainable, right? Or it should include something, or it should not include the fossil fuel or environmentally degrading substances. Now you compare you see the options. If they would have given the fifth option as the petrol or this natural gas, not natural gas, or the oil or anything like that, in that case you could have easily eliminated it. Right. So here if you see agricultural residues, this is waste. This is also waste. This is also waste. Right. So all three has to be there. So 1, 3, and 4 has to be there. And this corn green, again, if you see, normally is used in the other products also with respect to the biofuels. Right. So you with all of the above. Okay. Because what they have said can be used. Then you see again where the radars can be used. Again, all of the other. These are the questions from 2023 papers. Okay, with respect to the green hydrogen, it can be used, can be blended, it can be used. Okay, if the wording is can, may, you prove it. Okay, this. So this is the first elimination technique where you focus upon the application or the utility, okay, or the wordings, which is the possibility statements. If the statement is highlighting the possibility, can be used or may be used, in such cases, you consider those statements as correct. Okay. On the other hand, okay, or the opposite of it is the against statements, where the statement starts with the wording it must, it only, or none, or all, or binding. Okay. Where the statement framing is extreme, because they are generally incorrect. Okay. Similarly, in economics, so statement where they are showing the linear growth. That is, for example, there was one question where they said the trade between India and Sri Lanka is consistently growing. So consistently growing means the graph has to be linear, right? But always in economics, you never have the linear graph. There will be always ups and downs, right? So that becomes an extreme statement. So such statements also you can eliminate. Yeah. Here, if you see the questions, so recently, United States of America, European Union launched Trade and Technology Council. Statement second, US and EU claim that through this, they are trying to bring technological progress and physical productivity under their control. Right. So this is the extreme statement. No country would claim that we are taking the control of the technology or the physical productivity. Right. So you don't even need to see statement 1 and 2. Directly your answer will come as C. Similarly, if you see coal-based thermal power plants, none of them uses seawater. None of them set up in the water space district. None of them is privately owned. There must be at least one of them who uses seawater. At least one of them who is set up in water space district. At least one of them who is privately owned. Right? As this is extreme statement, none of them is correct. Okay. The next, again, if you see recently, all the countries, ठीक है, अब इतना तो यूनिटी है नहीं इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस में कि each and every country will agree to something. There will never be a convention in recent years where all the countries will agree. Okay. Second statement, if you see, this is binding on the UN member countries. Generally, all the international conventions are non-binding. Because there are just few exceptions which are binding. They are also majorly related to the environment. Okay. So if you see, both of these are eliminated. Your option 2, 3 is eliminated. You have to choose between 1 and 3, 1 and 4. And if you have the basic understanding, or if you apply the common sense, or if you have the basic knowledge base, you will be able to eliminate the third option as well, because internal migration comes under the domain of the state. Even deals only with the external migration. And here also similarly in economics, the value of India-Sri Lanka trade has consistently increased in last decade. That means there has been a linear growth, which is always wrong. Your GDP never grows with the or in linear terms, or the trade also never uh, increase or decrease in linear terms. Because secondly, if you see, in last 5 years, Nepal has been largest trading partner of India in South Asia. Last 5 years, first largest, which is the extreme. Your first is eliminated, third is eliminated. You have to answer will be. And if you have the basic knowledge of the IR, you will know that Bangladesh is known for the textile. So obviously in India, Bangladesh trade, textile and textile articles are going to constitute an important items. Okay. Then the next, this is the most important one, or the most relevant one, is to identify the complementary and contradictory statements. Suppose if you get a question where you don't have the idea with respect to the themes. Okay, you have zero idea with respect to the theme that has been asked in the question. In such questions, forget about the theme. Just focus on the options they have given and just compare the options. You see if they and apply the cause and effect. So for example, if you see in this particular question, the second statement, don't go into whether that particular statement is right or wrong. Because just compare the statement. For example, in this particular statement, what they have given is the proportion of irrigated area in India is more compared to China. So let's consider it as correct. So India has more irrigated area than China. And second, average productivity per hectare in Indian agriculture is higher than that is China. Right. So both of these are complementary statements. Right. Why? Because your productivity is dependent upon the irrigation. Right. Fertilizer and seeds are the secondary things. But productivity is dependent upon the irrigation. So if India has more irrigated area compared to China, India will have more productivity compared to China. Right. So this is the cause. This is the effect. So both of these statements will either be right or either be wrong. It can't happen that the one statement is correct and one is incorrect. Right. So both of them has to go hand in hand. They will either be correct or incorrect. Now you go to the correctness or incorrectness of it. As China is more developed than us, because China has greater investment in agriculture than us, obviously the irrigated area will be more in China and the productivity is going to be more in China. So you consider both of them as wrong, and India has more arable area than China. If you consider both of them as wrong, these two are eliminated. You will be left with just two options. You can go with one. Okay. Similarly, if you see this, I have already explained. With respect to the PFAS, you don't know what PFAS is, right? That's completely fine. You just come to the second and third statement. Okay, they are not easily degraded in environment, and persistent exposure can lead to bioaccumulation. Right. So if you read the statements properly, they are not easily degraded. So this is the cause. And if they are not degraded, right, that means their persistent exposure leads to bioaccumulation. Right. If they are degraded, then automatically there won't be any bioaccumulation. They will get degraded or they will get extracted. Right. As they are not easily degraded, this leads to bioaccumulation. So again, both of these statements are complementary. Both of them have to be correct or incorrect. So your option will be on either 1 only or 2, 3 only or 1, 2, 3. So 1 only is not there. 2, 3 and 1, 2, 3 are there. You have to choose between B and D. Right? Are you able to understand how to find the complementary statements based upon cause and effect? Right? Now, same case is with the contradictory statements. So this is the example of the contradictory statement. What they are saying, they are not naturally found in India. Okay. And the second statement is saying they first of all, this is your extreme statement, and they thrive only in mountain grasslands with no predators. So if you see, India has the mountain grasslands in Himalayas or even your Nilgiri, right? So if this is the cause that is they found only in the mountain grasslands, then the effect should be they should be found in India, right? Because India has the mountain grasslands. So India has the mountain grasslands, so they should be found in India, right? But what they have given is not found in India or not naturally found in India. That means both of these statements are contradictory. Right? And that means your option A and B are eliminated because both cannot be wrong at the same time and both cannot be correct at the same time, as both these statements are contradictory. Only one of them will be correct. That's the second statement has the extreme statement in it. Right? You eliminate the second and you go with the option C. First is correct, second is incorrect. Right? Like I said, this requires a lot of practice to your brain, where without knowing the concept, you simply compare the statements, you apply your static knowledge. Right. So we applied our static knowledge, Himalayas and Nilgiris. Right. And based upon that, you compare the statement and you get your answer. Okay. The third is the functions and organizations. Is it clear with respect to the complementary and contradictory statements? No worries. When we will have the elimination techniques sessions in the dominant prelims, we will be solving more than 50 questions based on each elimination technique. Okay. Then the functions and organizations. Again, on this theme, every year you get 2 to 3 questions. Okay. So here, what you need to remember is that generally the facts related to the organizations, the facts in terms of its origin, headquarters, or members, okay, generally those facts are wrong. But the functions of that organization are correct. Okay. The third type of the statement that they give is with respect to India's membership. Right. So with respect to the India's membership, remember that India generally is the member of the international conventions and organizations, except for the armed control organizations, human rights organizations, and the migration conventions. So apart from that, if you get a, say in 23, you had the question on the global toilet organization. So India is a member of even that organization. Right. So except for armed control, human resource, and migration conventions, India is generally a member. Okay. Then With respect to the organizations, keep the basics in mind. Except for the banks, okay, 99% of the organizations don't have any financial powers. So if they say this particular organization provides the funds, okay, suppose they say ICA provides the funds for the conservation, it is wrong. Okay, except for the banks, Asia Infrastructure Development Bank, uh, World Bank, IMF, those have the financial powers. Or some very big uh, the organizations like the UNCCD on those lines, they have somewhat financial powers. Otherwise, the minor international organizations don't have financial powers. They don't provide the funding. Secondly, 99% of their conventions are non-binding because because binding conventions compromise the sovereignty of the countries, which is very sacrosanct. Like I said, except for the environmental conventions, majority of the conventions are non-binding. Some armed control conventions and environmental conventions. Even there, all are not the binding conventions. Okay. Third, they don't have the executive powers. They can't punish any country. Okay, so just remember these facts. Now, if you see, this is with respect to the organizations. The Biodiversity Management Committee are key to realization of objectives of Nagoya Protocol. That is its function or the objective and important functions. So they have given the functions. So generally these are correct. Both of them will be correct. Because second, if you see, this was the question last year. The home guards are raised under the Home Guards Act and rules of the central government, which is fact with respect to the origin of it. Right? But these two statements, these are the functions. The role of the home guard, that is the function. Right? Second function, prevent infiltration. And it has been raised in some states. Again, the possibility statement. Right? So this is again a function, and the statement is a possibility statement. The very first elimination technique. The fact is incorrect. These two are correct. Only two will be the answer. So I'm sure out of 57 guys who are here, not even 4 to 5 will have the idea with respect to the home guards. ठीक है 23 का क्वेश्चन है, उसके बाद पढ़ा होगा तो दैट्स फाइन, बट उसके पहले तो किसी को नहीं पता होगा. Right. First statement is a fact where they have given the origin or the act related to home guards. So we consider it as wrong. Second and third statement are the functions of the home guards. So functions we consider correct. One wrong, two correct. That is option B. Because similarly, if you see this World Toilet Organization, again किसी ने नहीं पढ़ा होगा, but a simple elimination technique. It is one of the agencies of the United Nations. Again, it's a fact. Okay. Summit, TA, and the college are the initiatives. That is its functions of the organization to inspire action to tackle global sanitation crisis. We consider this as correct. Right. The main focus of the function of its function is to grant funds. Right. The function with respect to granting funds is incorrect because इतना पैसा होता ही नहीं है किसी इंटरनेशनल ऑर्गेनाइजेशन के पास. They don't have their revenue source. They are dependent on the voluntary contributions from the member countries. As they are voluntary, they won't be having a sustainable source of the income or revenue to provide the grants to the countries. Right? And they don't have their own executive wing also. Because of that, they can't hold the governments accountable. All they can do is they can criticize or point out, or they can publish a report. Beyond that, they can't punish or they can't grant the funds. right? So only first is as it is a fact, it is incorrect. Second is function. And third is with respect to funding. So the answer will be two. So despite knowing the World Toilet Organization, it can get your answer. Similarly, G20 again here our elimination technique will fail. Okay, because they have given the origin, which we normally consider as wrong. But G20 was in news, and you need to know the organizations which are in news. This statement you should consider correct based upon the knowledge. If you don't have the knowledge, if you apply the elimination technique, you will get it wrong. Right? Because what UPSC generally does is he gives those false statements only in the random questions. In the questions about which or the on the themes which are expected, like G20. The last 2 years, G20 was in news, so it was expected of you to know about G20. Okay. Digital public infrastructure is one of India's priorities. Again, it is a function. It is correct. Yes. Okay. That's why I said there should be a proper consolidation of the static. Then again, India is a member of International Grains Council. Generally, India is a member. If one is correct. And country needs to be a member of International Grains Council for exporting or importing rice and wheat. So basically, this statement is saying that if you are not a member of Grains Council, you can't export or import rice. In a sense, it is an extreme statement. And in a sense, it is saying that International Grains Council has the executive power, right? Without being its member, you can't export or import rice. So it is incorrect. Then the next theme is with respect to the data and facts. Yeah. Like I said, one home guard question we have already done, where the data and facts related to the origin, acts, names, or the numbers, yeah, etc., are generally wrong. And secondly, this is the most simple elimination technique, because normally what UPSC does is, unlike the state exams, where if the actual number is 1971, they will give you 1972, 1970, 1973 as other options. But UPSC doesn't do that. Okay, if the actual number is 1971, UPSC will give you 1871 or 1771 or 2001 in that way. That means UPSC gives you a very distant number. Okay, so it's very easy to identify and it's very easy to apply this elimination technique. For example, if you see uranium entries to the extent of at least 60%, they are saying, but it is less than 10%. ठीक है, so UPSC makes some, जैसे यहाँ पे भी between 15 crore and 25 crore they are saying, but in reality it's 50 crores. तो numbers बहुत दूर के देता है UPSC. ठीक है. Here also if you see, India, despite having uranium deposits, depends on coal for most of its electricity production. So India has the uranium deposits in Himalayas and the other areas, but this is again depends on coal. So this is a basic fact you should know. Yeah, around 50-60% of India's energy needs are made by coal. Second, this is the data. Enriched to the extent of 60%, we'll consider this as wrong. So, the answer. Similarly, here also if you say MSME, machinery between 15 crore, 25 crores. Okay, so this is wrong. Second, all bank loans qualify under the priority sector. Again, all. This is extreme statement. ठीक है, MSME को कोई भी आप लोन दे दो, that can't be in the priority sector. There should be some criteria with respect to the priority sector. You can't have the blanket criteria. And this is the extreme statement, so this is wrong. The answer is D. right? Similarly, if you see, India accounts for 3.2% of the global export of the goods. Okay. This is again the data which is wrong. Many local companies and some foreign companies operating in India have taken the advantage of India's production linked incentive scheme. Okay, they are saying many. They haven't said most, or if they would have said all of the local companies, that would have been the extreme statements. Many local companies and some foreign companies. These are the possibility statements. This is correct. So your answer will be D. Okay, I have picked only those questions about which you have the zero idea, or which are very random questions. Generally, we don't found this kind of the data in the standard books. Right. Second, Switzerland is one of the leading exporters of gold in terms of the value. One of the, right, not the extreme statement. But here they have the data. It is the second largest. Okay, that means this is incorrect. This is correct. Here answer is C. Okay. So this is with respect to the data and facts. The next is with respect to the provision. So this is mostly related to your polity. In majority of the polity questions, you will get a kind of questions where they will say that the constitution defines this particular concept, or constitution explicitly cover these provisions. So a simple fact you need to remember that constitution just provides you a framework. Constitution doesn't explicitly provide the definitions of the concepts or the explicit provisions. Right. So if you get such kind of the questions, you consider them as wrong. The second, the explicit provisions and the definitions are given in the acts. So for example, let's take the example of contempt of court. What constitutes contempt of the court is not given in the constitution. Okay, or the definition of the contempt of court is not given in the constitution. Constitution has simply given that the Supreme Court and High Courts will have the power to punish for the contempt of court. That's it. And under it, Parliament has enacted the Contempt of Court Act, where they have provided the definition of the contempt of court and explicit provisions related to the contempt of court. Right. So if they mention with respect to the acts, the definition given or the explicit provisions, you consider them as correct. If they mention constitution, you consider incorrect. Again, focus upon the wording. If they are saying it implicitly provides, okay, then you consider that particular statement as correct. If they say the Constitution of India provides for the judicial review, that statement is correct. Okay, it implicitly provides under Article 13, 32, 226, 141, 142. But if they mention the Constitution of India explicitly defines or provides for the, or the judicial review is mentioned in the Constitution, you consider that as incorrect. If it is explicit, consider that as incorrect. Take an example. Okay. The Supreme Court of India has held in some judgments that the reservation policies made under Article 16, Section 4 of the Constitution of India would be limited by Article 335 for maintenance of efficiency of administration. The second, Article 335 of the Constitution of India defines the term efficiency of the administration. It doesn't define. Right, so your answer is C. Right. Then Constitution of India defines basic structure in terms of federalism, secularism, fundamental rights, democracy. Okay. The second statement, Constitution of India provides for judicial review to safeguard the citizens' liberty to preserve the ideals on which Constitution is based. So this is correct. Okay. Not explicitly, but implicitly provide for the judicial review. If they would have mentioned the Constitution of India defines or mentions judicial review, word is not mentioned in the Constitution. Okay? Or explicitly provides for the judicial review, then that would have been the wrong statement. Again, focus upon the wording. Then the Constitution of India provides for 3 sessions of the Parliament. Again, it is not provided. Right? So this is the wrong statement. Second one is wrong. You have to choose within 1 and 3. And there is no minimum number of days the Parliament is required to meet in a year. So obviously there is no limit. 1 and 3. Okay. Again, according to the Constitution of India, a person who is eligible to vote can be made minister in the state for 6 months, even if he or she is not the member of the legislature of the state. So according to the Constitution of India, it is not provided into the Constitution. In Constitution, what has been provided is that the member appointed as the minister or the should get elected within 6 months. Right. So this provision is not explicitly there into the Constitution. Okay, again, in the second statement, they have given the data that is convicted for 5 years. It's not 5 years, it's 2 years. In criminal cases, okay, is permanently disqualified. Again, extreme statement is not permanently disqualified. It's the conviction years or the prison years plus 6 years after the release, not permanent. Right. So this is your extreme statement. This is the data. This is extreme. This is with respect to the Constitution. Both of them are wrong. Okay. So this is with respect to the provisions and definitions. So remember this. The next is with respect to the match the pairs. Okay, normally, since last 5 years, there are many match the pairs questions. How many of the pairs are correct? In majority of the questions, I have found that in 99% of the questions, normally all pairs are not correct. Because 1 only, 2 only, or none. In few of the questions, none of them are correct. But normally all of them are not correct. Yes. Secondly, generally UPSC interchange the options. And it's not just in the match the pairs, but in the statement based questions where they have provided the comparison. There also UPSC can interchange the functions. Okay, for example, this is the question. Ballistic missile are jet propelled at subsonic speed throughout their flights, while cruise missiles are rocket powered only in the initial phase of the flight. So here, basically, they have provided the comparison between ballistic missiles and cruise missiles. So normally what UPSC does, UPSC interchange the functions of the facts. So if you don't have the idea about it, okay, in that case, you can skip it. So similarly, comparison between, so you can consider it as wrong. Agni V and Brahmos, again, okay, answer is none. If you have the knowledge about it, obviously go for it. Similarly, here also, they have interchanged it. Okay. Here also, if you see, they have made the interchange. Again, this is not the centralization, but so while solving the questions on the match the pairs, focus on these aspects. Here UPSC has the tendency to interchange. Okay. Last or the second last is the odd man out. So odd man out basically means we have done it previously also. If you don't have the idea about the options or the theme on which the question has been asked, you simply compare the statements and eliminate the options contradicting with the others. Because for example, let's take this simple question. Again, this is from the non-core section. Consider the investment in following assets. How many of them are considered intangible? Right? Intangible means something that is invisible. Okay? Or something that is, sorry, not physical. Okay? Suppose you don't know about it. Just compare this. Okay, so brand recognition. Brand recognition is simply on the paper, or it's a value. Right? Inventory. Right? Inventory means your storage. That is the physical assets or storage. So whatever things you have into your shop or the storage, that is your inventory. Again, intellectual property, its value or it's on paper. Right. Brand recognition and inventory, mailing list of the clients. Again, it's on the paper. So these are not the tangible assets or the physical assets as such. You can easily eliminate the second option because it involves the physical assets or the storage. There are all three are either based on the paper or based on the value. Right. So your odd man out is the inventory. So 1, 3, and 4. Right. Secondly, here also if you see stability and growth pact of European Union. The first statement is limits the budgetary deficit. Okay, so this is basically with respect to the fiscal policy. Okay, and this is with respect to infrastructure and sharing of technologies. This is basically with respect to the not this is not with respect to the fiscal policy, but this is with respect to the either industrial policy or with respect to the technology. And this is the fiscal policy. So your first statement and second and third are your complementary statements, and first is the contradictory statement. So your answer will be either only two or only one. Now you focus upon this word stability and growth fact. So stability, the word is stability. Right? So stability comes with limited budget deficit. If you have the high budget deficit, there may be the chances of the bankruptcy, or there may be the challenge of the devaluation of the currency or balance of payment crisis. Based upon that, you can say that this is correct. Based or incorrect, you can go with only one. Because similarly, here also, if you see how many of them are included in the capital market, the basic understanding is that capital market is the long-term market. These are all the basics. The government bond market, it is long-term. Call money market, it is short-term. This is from your standard book. Treasury bills, less than 1 year, short-term. Stock market is also known as capital market. It is also long-term. Right? So these two are different. So if you just compare the options, दो यहाँ है तो कोई भी साइड से हो आपका ऑप्शन ओनली टू आएगा. This is how you find the odd man out. Just compare the options. You can classify the options. Similarly, here also this we have already done. Okay. Just compare the short-term credit support. Okay. Here also, if you see working capital for maintenance of the farm assets, maintenance is a temporary thing. Purchase of harvesters, tractors, mini trucks, it is a permanent thing. Okay. Or it is capital asset. Right? Consumption requirement of family household, it is again short term. Post harvest expense, it is again short term because you are going to have every year. Construction of family house or cold storage, it is long term or capital. Right? If you see option 2 and 5 are odd man out, or 2 and 5 are based on one thing, and 1, 3, 4 are based on one thing. 1, 3, 4 are short term, and 2 and 5 are long term. What they have asked with respect to the short term, 1, 3, and 4. Okay, this is how you just compare the options. Based upon that, you find the odd man out. Okay. Here also, if you see, are generally nocturnal or most active after the sunset. If you apply the common sense, this is nothing but a monkey, and this is nothing but a deer. You forget about whether it is summer or whether it is lion tail leopard. It's a monkey. All we have seen monkeys with respect are not nocturnal. That is a basic knowledge. Even the deers are not nocturnal. We know that. Right. So these two are the same. This can be odd man out. It can go with liver. Okay. Here also with the same logic you can get. Okay. So farmers flow. Computer. Okay. Computer is a fixed capital. Flow is also a fixed asset. You don't need to change it every year. That means this is wrong. Okay. Yarn used by the weaver. This is just the one-time use. It can't be a fixed. It's a working. This is again wrong. Again, petrol. So petrol, it is not a fixed. It's a working capital. Two correct, two incorrect. Okay. And last and the most important is the keywords. This is the only method by which you can solve the one statement questions. Okay, or the concept based questions. What do you understand by this particular concept? That is just there is just one elimination technique, and that is focusing upon the keywords. Okay, there also you have to focus upon each word of the theme, and based upon that you have to eliminate your options, okay, which requires the intelligent guesses and the application of the common sense. For example, you see pumped storage hydropower. Yeah, first pumped. That means there is some extraction, storage, and hydropower which involves, okay, or hydropower is basically with respect to energy. Yeah, as it involves the storage. Okay, there is only one option which talks about the storage. Just based upon the keywords. And second, based upon the common sense. So which of the following countries has own satellite navigation system? That means which of the following countries has its own GPS? Okay, so having GPS is a very, or own navigation system is a very prestigious issue, right? Simple logic or the common sense is that the most developed among these countries will have its own satellite navigation system. Right, and it will be Japan. Yeah, it's just an intelligent guess. Obviously, it's a knowledge-based question because it will be in your current affairs. But even if you don't have, with intelligent guesses and the common sense. Similarly, here also if you see membrane bioreactors, because if you in your environment you will read about the bioremediation technique. So in bioremediation technique, there are some remediation techniques which are used for the wastewater treatment, right? Where microorganisms ensure the uh, reactions and degradation of the biological waste. Right. So basically, the purpose of the reactors is to fasten the process of the reaction for the biodegradation. Okay. Even if you have revised or read about environment, you must be knowing about the bio remediation techniques, which are used for the wastewater or the waste treatment. Bioreactors, ये पढ़ने के बाद ही you will be able to get the answer as the wastewater treatment technology. ठीक है. Similarly, the last one is the static contained application. Basically, it is also the odd man out, but a simple one. Key abundantly available in certain coastal tracts of India. What they are saying, they are available in the coast. Forget about this. Okay, forget. If you have the knowledge about it, go with it. If you don't, forget. Okay, what they are saying, abundantly available in certain coastal tracts of India. Okay, so you know the copper and iron mines or the resources in India. Copper is majorly situated in the central and the northwestern India. Iron is in central India. Both of them are not in the coastal tracts. Automatically, these two are eliminated. Forget about this. You have to, the keyword in this particular question is the coastal tracts. You don't have the iron ore mines or the copper mines in the coastal areas. That similarly, aluminium also is not there. Aluminium is found in the bauxite, the laterite and the red soils. It's not present in the coastal areas, rather, but inside of it. Option remaining is titanium. Yes, similarly, here also the invasive species specialist group that develops global invasive species database. Okay, which organizations prepare? If you have read the environment, you will know that there is only one organization which provides the database with respect to the endangered species, critically endangered, vulnerable, least concern, and then the invasive. So database is basically must be the IUCN. Right. It's the identifying the keywords. You're reading the question carefully and applying the static content. So similarly, here also, if you see anemia, what is anemia? Anemia is the deficiency of, yes, anemia is the deficiency of anyone? Iron, right? You all know that anemia is the deficiency of the iron. So, do you need the calcium supplementation for anemia? Yes. Is there need for the calcium supplementation for the anemia or to treat anemia? It simply while reading the calcium you can easily eliminate this. Okay. You simply eliminate this. This we can consider correct or elimination. So reading the question very carefully and focusing upon the words and application of the static. Many of the aspirants who don't have the sufficient amount of the practice miss these kind of the hooks. It's the simple one word, the calcium. You know anemia is the deficiency of iron and that doesn't require the calcium supplementation. Okay. These are basically some of the micro themes which, some of the elimination techniques which you need to practice, which you need to work upon in order to master the elimination techniques. And majority of the aspirants who have told me their marks are in the range of 80s. That means they are lagging behind just 15 to 20 marks. right? And it is only the elimination techniques that is going to give you that edge. Okay, because there is a level playing field and there are the limitations of your knowledge. Your knowledge is going to take you only till 70 to 75. Beyond that, it's the exam smartness, your temperament and mindset, and the application of the elimination techniques. Okay.